beautiful till it all burns out. We're like falling stars, miracles dancing on the ground. And we're right with you to feel it strike deep dive. We're right with you, yeah. And we're right with you to feel it strike deep dive. Suffering grows, yeah. You say that life is beautiful. Would you let me in? No, yeah. They say that life is beautiful. Would you let me in? No, yeah.
Welcome, welcome. I have a special guest that's here. For those that know me, know that I'm into things beneath us. And my town is Laguna Beach, and I've had some interesting discoveries of things in my own backyard and things in the town, and things that are actually hidden and not well known. Just like the tunnels of Laguna Beach, a lot of people don't know about them. So I have a special guest, and he is very informative. And we are going to talk about some hidden things that are in Laguna Beach. Hello, DK. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
It is a pleasure to have you. And I know that we bonded and we're looking, I have it up right here. We're looking at this particular spot. For me, I do a lot of remote viewing. And this was very interesting, this particular building, because I was walking across, like I wasn't trying to remote view it. Like I was walking across the street and I looked over and then it showed me like dropping down like 4 stories deep, looking at that building right there, 298 Broadway Street. And then I saw it, and it like blueprints as I was just walking and looked at it, and I was like, why would it showed me an elevator and deep within several stories beneath street level. And so it caused me to inquire about it, and I spoke to a neighbor within a few days who told me that there was an elevator. This man was insanely wealthy that owned it, and he had this amazing art collection in that building. And yes, there was an elevator, and he kept all this huge collection of art and relics. And then that he would just dress really casual, and nobody really knew how much he was worth or how wealthy he was, but that he was super cool. But he ends up passing away, and he gifts his collection to UCI, like in a trust. So what I found interesting too is that when I walked by, what was it, 4 or 5 months ago, I saw it and I noticed it was for sale. But yes, indeed, it was several stories deep, and there is an elevator, and there was things that fascinated me about that. And then across from it is that building, which you had information about that I would love to hear about. And then you have this octagonal building. So if you can tell me what you knew about the building, like next to Whole Foods, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's kick this off with 298 Broadway Street, or as some of us called it, mystery of like the Turkish door, I believe, because it's a very intricate door that I've never seen move. And if you had, like, in my experience, if you ask many other locals, no one has ever seen anyone come in or out of that building. And I've lived in Laguna and now pretty much my entire life. And what's fascinating is while I was researching for Laguna for my documentary, I started finding out a lot of interesting things about this location. And you were right. So the former owner was Ronald Genender, and he was the one looking over or after the private, extremely extensive private art collection by one Charles E. Buck. It held, well, the Buck collection, if you will, held, I think, a little over 3,200 pieces containing all different types of medias, almost all from Orange County. and it was said to be believed at one time to be the largest collection of artistic contemporary work in Orange County of Orange County artists, stretching all the way back to like 1910 or 20.
Wow.
Now, what's interesting about it is it's kind of difficult to find any floor plan about it since it's again a private business residence and it's been not shuttered but very tightly locked for many years, decades even. So the best you'll find is just like a standard level plan. But I have met and talked with and interviewed individuals who have done full, building inspections of that place as well as what contains below. And from what I understand, yes, there is some sort of interesting elevator that goes much farther down below the structure itself. Some people, say, well, it's just another place for the art. But here's what's interesting. Multiple occasions I've seen, just walking late at night, walking back to a friend's house, and other people have seen full black on black, murdered out suburban or almost an escalated with California exempt plates, either idling in the back or to the side alley just between the modern furnishings and the building itself, which is odd. And if it just happened once, I would have brushed it off. But I saw, large California exempt plates there at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, multiple times. And I asked other people, they're like, yeah, we've also seen those interesting large black trucks, show up, stay for maybe an hour or two, and then disappear. And yet no one gets out of them, or it doesn't seem like anyone gets out of the truck, and no one gets into the trucks either. So that's also a very fascinating little tidbit about it. But yeah, you were right. So the daughter of Mr. Buck has, yes, donated a substantial amount of that art to UCI, because a lot of the artists that were in that collection were former UCI alum, as well as she's looking to open it up to multiple other public galleries and viewings, which I think is, it's kind of nice. But in its connection to the building across the street, which officially is known as a power substation, as well as what is it, cell tower grouping, as well as it's got a connection to the Laguna Trench, and I'm sure the sewer system. But from what I've understood is that there's also deeper layer, like under sub layers beyond that. Again, specifics to find that are very hard to come by, seeing as how for public records you can only get to the inside of the building to, I think, lower basement level to where it connects to either the sewer or the specific Laguna Trench.
It reminds me a lot of I used to live in the old Federal Reserve building, the Federal Reserve loft buildings in downtown LA, and
Mhm.
it looks so similar to that building.
Right, and I think what they're trying to go for, because if you we'll go back, actually, we'll segue to the octagonal building, which is the Wells
Oh
Fargo building,
yes, this
slightly right
yes.
there, and that also has a very similar style of architecture to it. I would say more of like a mid-century kind of deal.
You
And
notice
I,
too, there's a staircase, and then like it's blocked off, like
Mhm,
the spiral
mhm.
staircase. It's like blocked off, and it's always interesting when they're working on the tunnels how that light will be on, like late at night, how it will turn on. So it's like it clearly accesses something deep within, and that building next to Whole Foods is like what's going on there? It's never utilized, and it seems to
Yeah,
be powering something.
yeah, it's interesting. When I lived a little bit in downtown Laguna, I would
Mhm.
sometimes notice that light being on just randomly, and yet I wouldn't see any crew or late night construction individuals or even a utility truck parked outside. So either it's a sensor light or it's indicative of something else, or because something or someone needs the light to be able to see. So that's also interesting. The Wells Fargo building, though, fantastic design. I'm not, I don't know, I haven't done too much research into that one, just except for the architecture nature. But I know it was completely used, and all levels were used at one point. Now I think they only just use the bottom level.
Mhm.
So yeah, Wells Fargo building is also very interesting.
Yeah, that whole block right there. So, I noticed. I remember you speaking of something about, um, like the cable or what it projects or something like in that building next to the Whole Foods.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes, yes. So that's where, yeah, the next to the Whole Foods, that's where like most of the cell towers for downtown Laguna are. There's also, I think, electrical substation in there as well. Probably backup generators in case the town does, go blacks out. And then there may even be, was it flood alleviation pumps to help was trench during, when it floods. But below that, uh, it comes to more of like a rumor, because I've known people who said that they've done, you know, construction projects or building inspections down in the lower tunnels, and it says it just keeps going and going, and then you get to a floor, and then it just different concrete tunnels almost, but with no discernible
N-
marking, I guess, and they don't seem to be, flood, runway, or spill off tunnels
Now,
either.
what's interesting? Okay, see right here
Yeah.
how it's like a water canal system
Mm-hmm.
that basically, so it would run right alongside of it, and it's
Mm-hmm.
all these ancient sites. It always has to do with the water, and there's
Yeah.
always significant water beneath these powerful spots. It's significant, and it runs along all the way here, like along the canyon, the water, like the drainage system.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I found that to be significant.
Well, yeah, if we're paralleling water to significant, I guess ethereal or humanistic spiritual connections, Laguna Beach at one time did have a apparently thriving Native American community, and specifically near the connection of the 133 Laguna Canyon Road and El Toro. Apparently, that was a sacred site, you know, for
And
those specific
there was
locals.
actually a crop circle found in '96 in the
Hmm.
canyon, and that, when they were building the toll road, they were, that's when there was talk of that there's an ancient burial mound there, and
Hmm.
that like they were trying to protest of like, don't build here, like this is sacred ground. But you never really
Right.
hear about that. Just like, in San Juan Capistrano, there's like, indigenous tribes and American Indian tribes that like you never hear of that tribe. Like there's ancient history here, and that's why I really am into Tartaria. And you find out stuff about Tartaria, and you see where California is on a map, and that being, it's almost like a gateway. So there has to be these ancient history here, that we're just not educated on. There's not a ton of information about, but there seems to be remnants of. I mean, even that lighthouse that's on the hill, the one, you know what I'm talking about? The lighthouse
Oh yes, yes.
that lines
Actually,
up with this building, like it's directly, it lines up with that. And you could tell it goes under, it has like a peak, it's like a lookout point.
yeah, no, it's actually interesting. That old tower was part of the original was it 1920s, 1930s Laguna septic, and then what is it? General plumbing system. And when they updated, they I guess didn't want to get rid of it or something. But there has been work done recently, the past years, to restore that, as well as the digester tank that sits, just off to the left side if you're coming into town. And I would be hard pressed to find that those weren't connected, or at least in some way, spillage drainage output to the trench itself of Laguna.
There it is right there. So you got that
Hmm.
building right there, and then it overlooks this circular building right here
Yep, those
alongside,
two are
like, the
connected.
water.
Yep.
Uh-huh. And there's, like, a peek out point, like a cement one right there.
Hmm. Yeah, this little town is a fascinating spot for interesting culture, and then also kind of interesting architecture, both above and below ground. I wouldn't be surprised if, yeah, there was some connection, I guess, physically structurally to the old septic tanks plus the new waterways, and then how they just redid the entire trench itself. Also, interesting project that they did. I could have done that earlier, but
Right. Or even just looking at pictures of the tunnel system, like, wait a second, you're saying these were built in the 60s? Come on now.
right. Well, because what is it? Before, I think, was it the 50s or 60s? Yeah, there was still kind of like a almost build it your own aesthetic to the early or like earlier generation of people who were in Laguna Beach. So, and also the entire what is it? What we're looking at right here used to actually have businesses that were gain-owned businesses that were then shuttered and then moved away to make way for this park that we see right here, which is a bummer. But also another part of Laguna's history.
Now, the Hotel Laguna, which is right here, I feel like it
Yep.
has deep underground access, and they've been warring over that.
Oh yes, that has been. I've seen a lot of weird things in Laguna, but I didn't think I would see a high-class turf war just yet. Between a group of billionaire investors and a billionaire apparently snake oil salesman who, yeah, actually he came in and snaked the deal out from uh, a couple locals who wanted to restore it and make it beautiful again.
Mhm.
Mo said he wanted to do that, but hasn't really done anything except for the restaurant down in the lobby. But yeah, the Hotel Laguna, I think maybe one of the older, yeah, if not one of the oldest like buildings still standing in Laguna, at least commercial wise. There's one point in its history where some young guy got a whole pulley system and actually attached like a Bob's Big Boy like whole sign like thing to the top of it or in front of it. Oh yeah, the one man did it himself. It was crazy.
This is the building that we're speaking of. The one right here has like a little tower.
Hmm.
This is Hotel Laguna. And this is Main Beach. The right here is the famous lifeguard tower,
Hmm.
which to me, all these cities that I've noticed of significance, like you think it's just a regular statue, but I feel like it's telling of something deeper. Like there's a
Hmm.
statue right here that lines up and it looks like just a regular statue, but it's pointing. I've noticed in
Hmm.
cities around the world where the statues are pointing or indicating something, but that it's pointing to something significant. And if you I wish I had a photo to show, but this woman right here that's pointing right there. But yeah, did you have any other like information you wanted to or rumors? I mean, at this point, I like to hear of the rumors.
Oh well, I mean, okay. There's rumors that the lower connections, the elevators we talked about, the other stuff, quite possible, well, may lead to a section of Laguna Beach as well as Aliso Viejo that has been used for underground bunker strategy, if you will, or I guess that's what it's officially called. There's also rumor that there's another entrance to that said complex at the water treatment plant at the back of the ranch golf course and at the end of
Yes,
Liso
and they
Creek.
connect, and you got Pepsi right there on the hill, like that that lines up with that, and then you have the Ziggurat building that
Ah,
goes
yes, the famous
like
ziggurat building.
yes, and how many floors? Do you know how many floors that goes underground?
I don't know, but it is actually classified as a public nuclear fallout shelter.
Wow.
Yeah, so like it has underground, use as well as food storage, water filtration, air filtration, in case of a horrific attack. The ziggurat can be used as a staging center for triage, mass triage, as well as just general
And that
cover.
place just happened to be for sale. I found it really significant that this building right here with the underground access was put up for sale right around the time the Ziggurat was put up for sale as well, and both having
Hmm,
underground access.
interesting.
I wonder who's gonna
Hmm.
buy the Ziggurat or who bought it. It could have been sold. I'm not sure.
Right. It was the what is it? Social Security Administration
Hmm.
building for the area. Yeah. So I mean, it's a big ass building. So I mean, like someone would need to shell out some coin, like to buy that. Yeah, and also like revamp it. From what I understand, it needs some work interior wise,
Super
structurally, I
dated.
suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of fun rumors about like just beyond the fact that it is considered a public shelter, like in the case. Like there's other crazy rumors that it connects to the one in Laguna and possibly one under Costa de Casa in Mission Viejo, or farther out into the what is it, Portola foothills.
And I really get like, because I come across a lot of things underground, and I come across like this like really fast like railway system, kind of like in a, it's kind of like a subway, magnet train like that is
Hmm.
beneath. And basically, always get that this building we used to be like an old school, like in this area, like they probably
Hmm.
built over it, but that there was a underground like subway train type thing beneath this spot right here, that huge white building, which is interesting because it's, became a bank and then it's been empty for like, I think, a decade.
Oh yeah.
They could put in this
And
prime
then what is it?
spot.
Citizens Bank slipped in there for like a little bit. I don't know if they're still there, but and then yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, hey, if there is, a light street rail, I would certainly like to use it because it'll help me beat traffic during the summer. So,
Yeah. It's like, wait, why is this closed off? And then all the underground, in
Mhm,
LA and um Manhattan like Torrance
mhm.
area, like there's just cities and worlds beneath us.
Yeah, it's amazing, what we don't see when we're not looking down.
I know. I'm always like, dude, all the answers are beneath our feet, right? Like
Mhm.
we're taught to look up and out and at the stars and the planets and like, oh, let's go to the moon. But it's like so lucrative. Like we don't even, the oceans and what's beneath us
Right. I was
is,
about to say, yeah, we as much as we know, well, try to know about our oceans, we still know very little, especially in those deep depths.
yeah. And I forget what year NASA announced like they weren't going to look in the ocean anymore. Like, wait, what?
Oh,
Why?
great. Awesome.
Yeah, Coda de
Nuclear
Casa,
unlocked.
that's interesting. You never hear about like underground stuff in Coda de Casa, but that seems to have like an indigenous culture out there. And there's a lot of oh gosh, like dogman sightings in like Silverado Canyon and
Ah, yes, Black Star Canyon.
Black
Very,
Star.
very infamous spot for just weird stuff. I myself have experienced some weird stuff out there, even during the daytime. Like, because it's during the day, it's a great hiking spot. It's beautiful, it's lovely. During the night, man, the entire energy and vibe changes.
Hmm. What did you
Oh yeah, and it
experience?
also
Like,
well, okay, so if I'm not mistaken, at some point along the Black Star Canyon Trail marks an unfortunate massacre of a local indigenous people by I think Spanish, and so that couldn't have been good for the vibe of the ground. And then at one point in the early 40s and 50s, there was a regular Klan meetup out there at
hmm,
one point, and they would shoot at people, trying to come down, or just kids just trying to go on a spooky trail. Other than that, there's been other weird sightings and weird animal esque sightings all along that trail.
hmm, interesting. It's like always, it seems to be like a lot of dogman stuff seem to happen on like with
Mhm.
indigenous people. I mean, they say the, what do they call them?
Skinwalkers.
Yeah, the skinwalkers are like
Mhm.
tied to certain like bloodlines, certain American
Mhm.
Indian. So that's, yeah, the massacre. What year did that happen?
Uh, damn, I'm usually good with dates. I remember reading about it when I was living in San Juan Capistrano, of all places. And I remember because it was around Halloween, and typical thing kids like to do Halloween is brave themselves and try to go down Black Star Canyon without getting too scared. And
Mhm.
then I was starting to look it up. I'm like, oh no, like that whole area has some terrible bloody history to it, including all the other weird history that came after that.
Well, even just the information with like the mission in San Juan Capistrano, like
Hmm.
how many Indians were, how many thousands? I want to say it was in 3,000 were buried where the mission is. So they're
Yeah,
implementing like a religion, but what they had to massacre to implement that religion, that
right.
church. I actually
Yeah,
had
no,
my first
yeah.
Holy Communion there.
Oh yeah, no. The San Juan Capistrano, Mission Viejo, what is it? Foothill Ranch. All of those have some very interesting native and indigenous lore. Like, and it's if anyone was watching, it's a wonderful rabbit hole to go down of this area. There's a lot of fantastic history and lore that isn't violent. That's also great. But yeah, that's Black Star Canyon right there.
I'm trying to get a feel of like where it is,
Oh yeah, it's out there.
and there's so many sightings and like odd things that happen in wilderness type areas. The and in national parks they speak of, I mean, even in the early 1900s, all these different stories of experiences where they were like, yeah, something opened up and they
Mhm.
came out, or that they went, it was like the lighting was different. They seemed to enter into something almost like into inner earth, but like through like dimensionally, kind of the way that they describe it opening is very similar. And then the ones that disappear that are never found, a lot of them had the same blood disorder. So I'm always
Huh.
like, well, what authorizes that? Like when you enter into a national park, are you agreeing to something that's, and if you have a certain, thing that with your blood, like that, it okays for that to happen to you? Like, that's what's going on here.
Huh. Well, I mean, it is fascinating to learn how many people actually go missing and are never found throughout all of America's parks. You
Right.
know, and specifically Yellowstone and Big Sur. That's apparently a lot of people just disappear. Um, and yeah, it's interesting. I think it should be if we're going to be granting into anything going to a national park, it should be try not to set the entire park on fire, please. It's California. We have enough problems with fire.
And looking at this too, you hear of like there's all these underground bases and stuff,
Mhm.
like, Area 51, the other one in New Mexico, like Dolce, but that there is an opening out here. I wonder, I'm like, can you see my mouse? That there is
Mhm.
an opening out here that is basically like a triangle, like from this area somewhere by San Clemente Island, and
Mhm.
then way up north, like by Long Beach, and then out by Catalina, that it's like this triangle, and all of these ships, like US underwater, like submerged objects, these ships where all these different fishermen and people, they see these ships beneath the water glowing different colors, and some of them even come up out from the water. But it's interesting to see on a map of looking at it, of like, oh wow, that this is like a way from, underneath, and to come out. And then you hear of like Catalina Island has a lot of, like giant bones were found. There's a lot of UFO activity right there, always, like a lot of the time. And they seem to hover, and then it looks like they're extracting, like they go, and then they're like they hover over a spot, and then I'm like, what are they extracting? It's like, I don't know if it's energetically, like a propulsion system where you're getting energetically, or if you're literally taking something out of the water. But it's always, usually in the same areas, and it's always around Catalina. So when people go to like faraway places to like, I want to see UFOs, like I'm going to Sedona, or I'm going to study ranch, or I'm always like, dude, go to Catalina. Like, go to Laguna
Yeah.
Beach, man. Just go to Newport. Like, look out over the water. It's unbelievable.
And it's interesting you brought up fishermen firsthand experiences. 'Cause I know a bunch of fishermen, or sports fishermen, what have you, who love doing between Dana Point and Catalina, and they've been out at night or during the day or at dusk, and yeah, they've also said they saw weird ass things like cruising under the boat at pretty good speeds, like through water, and it's big enough, so that would require a decent amount of force to move an object like that through water. So yeah, it's very fascinating, this little area. There's been,
Yeah.
I guess, some spiritual people who have come here have claimed that Laguna is like a vortex or something, and at least in terms of humans, like different people from all walks of life, all sorts of brilliance and creativity. Yeah, Laguna in this area has a fascinating way of collecting people from all over the world. But
Fred
yeah,
Bell, I mean, he was right, what, like probably a mile and a half from where that building we were looking at. He lived in the canyon
hmm,
and he had some interesting experiences and insight. And it's always attracted, yes, a really creative, kind of a hippie mindset and stuff,
hmm,
but a certain type of person, and it does seem like a spiritual place, but it all seems like a bubble. In fact, I used to live in Woods Cove,
hmm,
and I always felt that there was like something beneath that area. I don't know if it was a crystal or what, but if you drive, you will see you won't get any reception right in that area, and it is the oldest part of Laguna. But that there's like a 6 or 7 block radius where you cannot get any like reception nor what do you call it, like service, like you
right,
can't
right,
get
yeah,
any radio, which is
yeah. Mhm.
interesting because that's where the radio station is as well. um so
And
it's
there's a
like,
reason why they put it there, because it's one of the more difficult spots, to get radio because of all the hills and the canyons and stuff like that. And for a long time, Laguna was known as Radio Free Laguna, because as soon as you entered any of the only three entrance and exits of Laguna, by the way, most people don't realize that. Yeah, you would lose any sort of radio. But again, that can be easily, described as like, oh, well, yeah, you're losing any amount of signal because you're going behind mountains and hills. But yeah, the service thing, as well as in certain parts of like Bluebird Canyon, as well as South Laguna, as well as where's the other spot? But yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's
what
like
is it?
I'll have like 4 bars, and then it'll just drop down to like one or nothing for just a quick sec, or however long traffic takes.
What's it called, the Victoria Beach with the Pirates
Oh yeah,
Tower?
just Pirate Tower, Victoria Beach. Yep.
What do you know about Pirate Tower?
Now, if it's the same house that is connected, I'm thinking about scrolling a little bit. Okay, let's see. Yeah, just scrolling a little bit. Before we get there's the tower, and I think it's either this house or another house with these beautiful turrets that was designed by Christopher Ursherwood and three other of his great friends. Christopher Ursherwood, known as a very famous gay British playwright,
Mhm.
uh, lived here in Laguna for many, many decades, and was actually, a pillar or a figure of the gay community in early Laguna Beach history. And if oh yeah, okay, so he and that's okay, that's the house with the gray roof on top. That and then yep, so they actually built that house, and
Wow.
attached that pirate tower, which was far more structurally sound. I think this would have been 60s, maybe 70s.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Hmm.
And even at Thousand Steps, there's like a really cool like infinity pool. It looks like it's really old.
Oh yeah, yep, yep, yep.
Let me find that. Have you ever gone like exploring at Thousand Steps? Now it's like a huge influencer site. Like everyone
I
goes
know.
there for their Instagram, and it's
I
like
remember
a
I remember going down there as a kid, and then in high school for, sports during the summer, they'd make us run up and down those stairs multiple times a day. That was fun.
I used to live like right across the street from it, and I would go and do the steps, and I was like, I just want to stand up top and interview people. I'm like, they'll probably get so mad of like everybody's winded.
Oh, oh my, that'd be great.
Like, don't ask me questions.
So, was it worth it?
I'm like, that'd be like the funniest interviews. I always just wanted to do that.
Most people would be like, never again.
I'm trying to look for the pool area. But yeah, you gotta like wait till it gets lower tide to be able.
Mhm.
Now, John Wayne's house was right here. Yeah,
Yeah.
right in this
One of them's
area.
with the I think the one with the little, if you actually go down, it has like a, almost like, what is it? Like a chute or something for like a cart to come back up and forth to the main
Yeah.
house, to the beach house. Yeah.
hmm And then so when you walk down this way and you wait for the tide to get lower, there is like an infinity pool. It's hard to tell with this,
It might
but
be a
yeah,
little more north, actually. Or wait.
gosh, it's harder to tell. Oh, what's beneath our feet, right?
Mhm,
But
mhm.
there's so much to explore. And is there anything else that you want to add to really cool history or hidden information about this area?
Well, I could go on all day. But in terms of like cool stuff going happening below us, let's see. We covered possibility of structures below. We've done the tunnel system, trench system. Um, oh well, I mean, one last tidbit is like there is rumor and speculation that these quote unquote tunnels also connect to the uh, well, quote, decommissioned El Toro Air Force Base.
Mm,
And while they are demolishing, the old barracks and the old hangars and stuff like that, it appears to like the base itself still appears to be in use, just not on
mm,
the surface.
right.
Yeah.
I was
There's
just over there the other last weekend. I had to go to a volleyball tournament, and I saw it. I hadn't been to that area in so long, and I see how they're taking apart the hangars, the old
Mhm.
hangars.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I used to remember when the like Blue Angels would fly out of there, and they'd fly all over and it'd be super loud. It was awesome. And then just out of nowhere, it was either gonna well, that area was either gonna become an airport or it was gonna turn into what it is now with the spectrum and the rapid development that has occurred in just like the past 15, 20 years.
I'm trying to pull it up. El Toro Marine Base. I don't even think does it not
Oh no,
even come up
airbase,
under,
airbase.
which has to be
Oh
connected to
wow.
tunnels.
Huh. Yeah, because it was decommissioned what when I was a kid. So oh, there it is, right there.
Look, that's massive. And also too, what is it, Von Carmen? Like they made a tunnel system. I want to do a video on it. I should invite you on when I do it, talking about when they were testing the speed of light or the speed of sound from here all the way to Baldy,
Oh
that
wow.
area. Yeah, and they were measuring it, and Einstein would come down.
Huh, I'm unfamiliar
Yeah.
with that. Yeah, I gotta research that. That sounds cool.
Yeah, I'll sometime in the next month I want to do a video on it, and I will totally have you on so we could geek out on it.
Mhm.
Yeah, measuring the speed of sound. But thank you for coming on and sharing your knowledge.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that concludes today's show, and maybe hopefully we taught you something about Laguna Beach, and always explore and ask questions, and everything is clearly not what we've been told, right?
Right.
All right. Well, thank you. And I hope to geek out with you on that sound tunnel.
Absolutely, thanks for having me, and just let me know.
Okay, cool.
beautiful, till it all burns out. We're like falling stars, miracles, dancing on the ground. And we're right with you to feel it stride deep dive. We're right with you, yeah. And we're right with you to feel it stride deep dive. Suffering grows, yeah. They say that life is beautiful.